The city of Huntingburg approved a budget and took a step for its future. We'll tell you more on that. Plus, the DuBois County Contractual and Jasper Public Library boards have their next operating budgets. We'll give you a breakdown of what was passed last night. And Kurt Guxell talks about Friday football ahead in sports. All of that and much more is up next here on the 18 WJTS News. Hello, I'm Bradford Raths. We begin tonight with a Holland woman's arrest after she nearly hit a sheriff's deputy's car and another motorist head-on while driving under the influence. According to DuBois County Sheriff's deputies, a deputy observed a car driven by 23-year-old Audrey Fleck of Holland turn west onto 6th Street near the Jasper Pizza Hut just before 10:15 p.m. last night, and Fleck nearly collided head-on with another motorist headed eastbound. Fleck then nearly hit the deputy's car as he was also going eastbound. After turning around and stopping Fleck's vehicle, the deputy sensed a strong odor of alcohol coming from Fleck. A field sobriety test was conducted where probable cause for operating while intoxicated was found. Fleck was taken to the Jasper Police Department where a certified test confirmed the deputy's suspicion as Fleck's BAC registered at 0.14%, nearly twice the legal limit. Fleck was lodged in the DuBois County Security Center. She is charged with operating while intoxicated. The city of Huntingburg took another step last night towards future developments within the city. Last night, the Huntingburg City Council gave its approval to the contracts with development concepts for the downtown revitalization plan for the city. Huntingburg Mayor Denny Spinner says there are several steps involved in this plan.
Got two specific things. One part of the plan would be to study the infrastructure in the downtown area, everything from water lines to parking to all the other services that the city provides, but also developing some concepts on more of the visual and the quality of life issues, or what are the types of things that we can do to take a downtown that is already in very good shape, but what are the enhancements that we want to make to continue to have an attractive downtown in the next 5, 10 to 15 years.
A steering committee appointed by the city will work with development concepts on the project. The steering committee will have its first meeting later this month, and more meetings will be held in the coming months. A public meeting is set to be held in January where concepts will be presented. According to Spinner, there will also be opportunities at this meeting to receive public comment. Spinner says the completion of the process will help to give direction for the whole thing.
Once this document is complete, the council will have a kind of a roadmap to look at on how we want to continue to work to enhance the downtown. And this folds in with the comprehensive plan, which we saw that presentation our last meeting, and this downtown revitalization will fold into the complete comprehensive plan as well.
In other business at last night's meeting, the council formally adopted the city's budget for 2014. Spinner says the negotiation process for the budget went smoothly this year.
The council took a look at the departments thoroughly during our budget hearing. Where, of course, the advertised budget will be much higher than what we figure what the final rate will be. We won't get those figures until the assessed valuation comes through. But I think it's a responsible budget to continue to provide the services that the city of Huntingburg, citizens of Huntingburg are expecting.
The 2014 budget for the city totals just over $9.1 million, with a maximum of just under $1.8 million to come from local property taxes. The advertised tax rate came in at roughly $1.29 per $100 of assessed value. Both numbers are up slightly from last year's total budget of just over $7.3 million and last year's tax rate of $1.13 per $100 of assessed value. The city's budget now heads to the Department of Local Government Finance for its final approval. Speaking of budgets, local libraries now have their next operating budgets. Last night, the DuBois County Contractual and Jasper Public Library boards both formally adopted their 2014 budgets. For the Contractual Library Board, the budget will total $840,000 with a $484,000 tax levy. This year's advertised tax rate is roughly 7 cents per $100 of assessed value, which is about the same as last year, according to Library Director Rita Douthit. Douthit says this year's budget process went fairly well. She says not a lot changed in the budget from a year ago.
There are no big increases. It's just we're allowed, a 2.8%, 2.6% increase. And that's not a whole lot. I mean, it doesn't really cover inflation, but you just deal with what you got. And that's what we try and do.
Meanwhile, the Jasper Public Library Board's budget will total $1.1 million with a tax levy of $657,000. The advertised tax rate for the Jasper budget is roughly 8 cents per $100 of assessed value. Jasper Public Library Board President Bill Hewitt says their budget process also went well.
It was a very smooth process because we're not looking at much more than what we had previously from the rate has gone up a little bit, but we've had a salary increase, we've had some other things to look at, plus the fact that we have the affordable health care situation, and we're not sure what that's going to be.
Both budgets will now head to the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance for their final approval. Also last night, both boards discussed the ongoing issues surrounding health policy for library employees. Douthit informed both boards that the defined contribution plan that the library had talked about doing is no longer an option due to interpretations of the Affordable Health Care Act. Douthit stated that what the library had talked about doing with the defined contribution plan was classified as a health savings account, or HSA. Douthit further stated that HSAs are considered to be limited benefits under the Affordable Care Act, thus making them unacceptable and not really an option. Douthit says the biggest impact of the decision may be felt by the libraries, not the employees. She says it's something that a decision needs to be made on by the board soon.
From our point of view, I mean, we will still try and do something and provide them some sort of benefit that will help them offset the cost of their insurance. But the problem is we have to make a decision so that they know what they can do. And if they have to go to the exchange and get all their end of it worked out. I think the deadline is December the 15th if they want insurance coverage by January 1st.
Meanwhile, Hewitt says the library board will have to come up with something to ensure that employees won't have to go to the public exchanges.
The exchanges don't work for the library staff, so we're going to have to come up with a program so that everybody has insurance. And that's under the Affordable Health Care Act.
With everyone having to have insurance by January 1st of next year, Douthit says it is important to make the decision as soon as possible because some employees will wind up having to go to the exchanges to get insurance, and all insurance has to be set up by December 15th in order to meet the January 1st cutoff. The boards both ultimately decided to give the issue to the Personnel Committee, and they will report back at next month's meeting. Other notes from last night included a stunning revelation about delinquent fines in the library system. Douthit cited numbers from 2007 to present, which showed that Jasper's library had more than $55,000 in delinquent fines. Other numbers were Ferdinand's library at $4,800, Du Bois's library at $2,400, and Birdseye came in with $234 of delinquent fines. Douthit says fixing the problem is a lot easier than people might think.
The library is here. We're basically a free service. You come in, you borrow the books, and you return the books. You return them on time, and you can keep them for that time period. So the issue is just bring the materials back. You bring them back, you won't owe any fines, you won't owe the cost of materials, you won't owe all those fees, and that's the issue. We're open 65 hours a week. We have the book drop that's there 24/7. There's no excuse not to get them back. And if they're late, they're late. Pay the 10 cents a day fine. But bring them back. And that would resolve all of this if people would just return their materials. You could save yourself a lot of problems, a lot of fines and fees. You won't go to the collection agency, you won't go to small claims court, just return the materials. That's all we want, is bring the materials back. We'll work with you. If you've lost them, we'll help you set up a payment plan to help pay for the materials. But if you bring them back, that's probably going to reduce what you owe by more than half, because the cost is in the cost of the materials, not so much the fines and fees. You bring the materials back, and that often reduces the fees.
Under the current policy, patrons with lost or overdue materials pay material plus a processing fee. Douthit says late fees are capped at $10. Anyone with a total of $10 in overdue materials is stopped from checking out books or other materials, but they can pay a penny to get down under $10 to be able to check out books. There is a catch to that, however. Anyone with a library card that has overdue materials at that amount cannot renew their library card until they have paid their overdue balance down to $0. Finally, last night, the board also approved up to $50,000 for the purchase of a new server for the Ferdinand Library. The new server would also serve as a backup server for the libraries in the event that the main server at Jasper would go down. Residents of Ferdinand were given the opportunity last night to learn about the search and interview process for the community's new town manager, as the Ferdinand Town Council held a special meeting to help explain what steps will be taken in order to fill the position. However, no one from the public showed up, and the meeting was officially adjourned after about 15 minutes. During that time, though, Ferdinand Council President Ken Seacard pointed out that interviews will still be conducted by a panel consisting of himself, along with council members Debbie Johnson, Ron Wire, and Clerk-Treasurer Bev Schulteis. Seacard explained that in the past, interviews would consist of a number of set questions for each candidate, and a potential candidate would be able to obtain those questions via computer before actually interviewing for the job. Seacard says the new style that will be used will be more behavioral based, where 2 set questions will be asked, and based on the answers received, more questions will be asked in order to dig deeper on the candidate's experience. Though public participation last night was a shutout, Seacard said the purpose of the meeting was to explain the process publicly.
When we were, talking about doing an interview, my first thing was to go and do a panel interview very similar to what we were used to doing in the past. My company has started something totally different, and that's the process that I'm going to, bring into here. And in talking to our legal counsel, he said, well, Ken, he said, when you go to explain that, you have to do it at a public meeting. So that led us to call this special meeting here before we go into executive session.
The council is looking to fill the town manager's position that was left open with the resignation of Mark Stedzik. Stedzik stepped away after nearly 6 years on the job back in August to take a position as marketing communications manager for Kimball Office. Seacard says what the council is looking for is the first person that they feel will put the town of Ferdinand first at heart.
We're looking for a person who has Ferdinand at heart, and it could be a local person. We have a number of those. We have some people from the outside also very interested, but our goal is to find that person that will help lead Ferdinand into the future for us.
Now, at the conclusion of last night's public meeting, council members went into executive session to look at and discuss applications and resumes of the 12 candidates for the job. Those who were picked to be interviewed in person by the council will be contacted and invited to take part in an in-person interview. Seacard says he hopes to have the position filled sometime next month. Last night marked the grand opening celebration for Jasper's newest banquet facility. The staff and management of the new Clubhouse 61 held a ribbon-cutting ceremony and grand opening celebration yesterday afternoon. The new Clubhouse 61, formerly the Jasper Country Club's Clubhouse, is a venue designed for events such as wedding receptions, corporate events, holiday parties, and any other celebration. There are several room layout options to accommodate intimate gatherings, large events, and everything in between. Owner Alan Hanselman says plans were already in place to have a banquet-type facility in Jasper. He says the country club property was very intriguing for that purpose.
We actually had our own plans of building our own banquet facility inside of Hampton, and when this came available, we ran out here. We really didn't think we'd be interested, but after seeing the potential out here, we decided, yeah, this was something we really wanted to do. It was double what we were going to build. And most of our weddings in this area are about 300 to 400 people, and we were only going to build like a 300-seat facility. And we've had 5 weddings here already, and we would have lost probably about 3 of those, if we would only had a 300-seat facility.
Hanselman says the new facility fulfills a need in the Jasper community.
Jasper, I know, has been wanting something like this for quite a while. We're running out of wedding. Huntingburg has their own big, nice event center now. Ferdinand's had theirs for a while. Jasper really hasn't had a real large one. We have the polo room and things like that, but we really didn't have something that's new.
The formal ribbon cutting was held at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, with the celebration running until 6 p.m. yesterday evening. Tours of the facility were given, and there were refreshments, door prizes, and networking opportunities available to those who attended. Hanselman and Gail Hettinger purchased the property in January of this year and began the remodeling process immediately. Clubhouse 61's first event was held back on August 31st. Finally this evening, the Golden Dragon Acrobats will perform at the Jasper Arts Center tomorrow afternoon. The show begins at 3:30 p.m. and will kick off the 2013-2014 Family Fun Series. It will feature more than 30 performers who will entertain with acrobatics, theatrical enhancements, and Chinese traditional dance. The group will feature contortionists, tumblers, and jugglers in acts such as plate spinning, bicycle pagoda, and juggling balls, umbrellas, and other items using hands and feet. The Acrobats will be seen perching atop a 30-foot tower of chairs, bending like rubber, and balancing human pyramids while riding moving bicycles. The performance is suitable for all ages. Once again, the performance begins at 3:30 p.m. tomorrow. Tickets will be $15 for adults and $8 for students and children for the event. Tickets are available by calling the Jasper Arts Center at 482-3070. Coming up after the break, your local forecast, sports with Kurt Gooksell, and Inform featuring Nicole Hurley and Nick Stevens. That's all up next here on 18 WJTS News. Local people watching local people.